Hey, this is Lance for 20-Sided Night. Today's creature feature, we're going over the Grays. They're a mysterious alien outsider, possibly from another dimension, who has come from the grift. I fucked it up. They come from the drift to do what? Evan, tell me a little more about these guys.
To touch your butts. No, I mean it's actually a thing where they're actually like, cause I know they're from generic sci-fi, just any old timey sci-fi. That's what the Greys are. But it's also in Starfinder they're a little spookier because it's like because it's like in a spacefaring society, there's still these galactic, spooky guys who are coming and abducting people, doing the same things, and we still haven't been able to track them. So it'd be like if in a Star Wars or something, they're like every so often, stormtroopers or high-ranking Imperial official would go missing, and they come back with like weird little chips in their neck or weird burns on their butts.
And even Vader and the Emperor's like, what happens here? It's like, I don't know. And then the Emperor uses like force ability. It's like, oh, weird. I guess he just doesn't know, getting that sick-ass 3D tattoo. The Greys, basically, they look like what you picture in a sci-fi, serial back in my childhood. Well, a little bit after, because TVs were invented a little bit after I was young. But anyway, they have like large, obtuse-looking heads with two big glassy eyes, and instead of noses, just like two little nostril slits.
Like a snake.
And very expressionless, like a snake, like a non-scaly snake. Like very expressionless features and like a slit mouth sort of thing. You can sort of have them wear like the gray like suit that's a classic, just so they look like an all gray sort of guy. Or one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite alien movies, Fire in the Sky. Basically, that gray thing they were wearing, the whole thing on their body was a suit. They weren't really gray.
Yeah, they're not like naked.
Yeah, and then like when they took the suit off, just because when they're in the ship, they don't wear the mask. When they took that thing off, it was this weird peach color that was kind of like a membrane sort of thing. Like the glassy eyes, those were sort of like these glasses things that went over them. Just to give them another level of sort of mystery. Sort of like they're always wearing pink guy suits.
Just to get into the meat and potatoes, they're challenge rating level 4. They're a small humanoid. They they get +1 for initiative when you're rolling for that. Their senses are dark vision for 30 feet, and perception is +10 when they're rolling for perception. Their KAC and EAC is 15. They have a +3 on fortitude saves, +3 on reflex saves, and +9 on will saves, which sort of harkens back to their sort of their psychic backgrounds and their strength. And,
these guys are all psychic. Look at the size of that head.
Yeah. Their defensive abilities are phased, and we'll go into that in just a minute. Their other stats they have are they can speed's 30 feet. Their melee touch attack probe is it's +6 to hit. Their range is a +8 to hit. Needler pistol, and it does 1d4 +4 piercing damage with a Jexa drug called Blue Weenus.
They're a real creepy bunch.
Yeah, their offensive abilities are sleep paralysis. Their spell-like abilities are once a day they can cast Deep Slumber for a DC of 18, and then a DC of 17 for Hold Person. And then 3 times a day they can cast Detect Thoughts, DC 16, Mind Link, DC 16, Mind Thrust level 1, DC 16. And then at will they can cast Daze with a DC 15, Detect Affliction. Their gear is they wear, like Lance was saying earlier, a gray skin suit. Stat-wise, it's just a Lashunta Temp Wave. And they have a Needler pistol with 15 darts and 5 doses of Weenus. Their stats are they have, they get a -1 to strength rolls, +1 to dex rolls. They don't get any bonuses or, minuses for con. +5 intelligence, 0 wisdom, which is strange, but it kind of makes sense because they're more psychic.
I guess their psychic abilities are running off of their intelligence.
Yeah, which, we can get, that's a whole other thing, but it's like psychic abilities, you think it's more like brainulate and stuff where...
their intelligence is at 5, and they got that big old brain, so... And they're outsiders anyway, so...
They're going to play by some different rules.
Yeah.
But then they also... Let's say they have a +3 to charisma, which...
Probably speaks to them being so spooky.
Yeah, well also, for intimidating things, but also probably if they're going to try to convince someone to do something, they're probably speaks, you could probably flavor it up as, it's, even though it's not a spell-like ability, you could say, ooh, they use their insidious mind powers to convince you of something, even though...
Yeah, they're looking into, like, what you want, basically.
Yeah.
Like, they're sort of looking into what you want, and then they're sort of playing off of that sort of thing. Like, okay, this person over here, they don't just want credits, they want fame and glory sort of thing. Well, okay, how about I trade you one of our weapons or something, if it's something that they really, really want.
Yeah, or something where...
And then mind-wiping just don't give you the weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of, because even though it's like, even like a real gross-looking guy, if he hands you, like, I don't know, if your mom was sick or something, like, oh, I got medicine for your mom, it's like, yeah, you're a real creepy guy, but you got that thing I really want, or something like that, or you do sort of know this. Their skills that they have are life science, and they get plus 15 to life science rolls, plus 10 to medicine rolls, plus 15 to sense motive, which speaks to them, basic Gray stuff where they're always abducting people and also cows for some reason. I don't know like cows, but
one thing I thought was kind of weird. They have telepathy at 100 feet, but they also know Aklo but can't speak it.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to figure out more about the planet that speaks Aklo, and just kind of maybe there was a Gray invasion that happened there and they were fought back to a certain degree, so they learned their language and culture, and it's waiting in the wings to do something, but they don't got the vocal cords right, so they can't talk that good.
Yeah, or maybe it's something where, kind of like how, if you're bilingual or whatever, you can probably think in more than one language, or like you can. So it's probably so the Greys probably have a language that they use for telepathy, kind of. And this speaks to more. This is just my theory of what this is all about, but it would speak to them being like really secretive and sneaky, where it's like okay, so we'll only telepathically talk to each other in Aklo because that's our weird little Gray alien language, but we got to talk English to all these rascals.
Well, like they only know Aklo and telepathy as their languages, so like they don't know Common.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. Why Aklo? I know Aklo was one of the other languages of it was some race. I'll look it up. I think it's called Aklo, but it was some race like the spiny heads from that game that we ran with like the dark spears. Maybe that has something to do with them. Like maybe that's where they're getting their maybe there's a connection mysterious. There. They either travel singular in a pair or an invasion of 6 to 12. So either they're coming once, twice, or more times than ever.
Oh dang.
Yeah.
And so their special abilities we're going to touch on really briefly are phase. So basically they can phase through object like walls or
people.
Yeah, well they can't actually.
Oh yeah, it can't be corporeal. So walls, ghosts.
Oh yeah, what would happen if a Gray was trying to phase through a ghost? Would they? I
mean, the Grays go through the Grays dimension, and the ghosts are from the ghost dimension. So they just.
Would they cross over, or would they like fuse, or what? Yeah, they can't end their turns within a wall. They don't say what happens if for some reason. I don't know, they're phasing, you somehow push them or whatever, if they just don't have enough and they goof up, they don't have enough, movement speed, if they just take massive damage or they die or something.
I would either put as a huge amount of damage, maybe like 60-10s.
Yeah.
Because like you're smashing through a guy, sort of.
Yeah, so something like that. Also, when they are doing that, they have a 20% chance to miss the target.
Oh, it's not just when they're phasing through a thing. It's just they always have the benefits from that 20%. That 20%. What's the word I'm thinking of here?
Chance to miss.
Yes, thank you. That 20% chance to miss from attacks and effects targeting it directly, such as mind thrust or anything like that. And it only takes half damage from area of effect attacks.
Yeah. So
if you're playing as an NPC, if you're playing as a PC using this, that's kind of nerfed a little bit. We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, and then another thing they have is probe. Probe does is that it's basically a way for them to sort of transfer information, but it's not always information you want to give. So basically, if there's a creature that's intelligent and also paralyzed, which also goes into one of their abilities, sleep paralysis, which we'll talk about in a moment, they can sort of glean, take information from you, but of sort of a more simple nature, like where's your starship coming from? What are your intentions? What are you doing here? What are those 11 herbs and spices?
Is that why they keep changing the kernels in those commercials?
But yeah, and so when they're doing that, if you're paralyzed, it's a DC 15 will save. How sleep paralysis works is that they go to a sleeping creature, and they can touch, and it's a DC 15 will save, and if they succeed, the creature stays asleep, but they aren't paralyzed by it, and they are immune to this effect for 24 hours. If they do fail, they're awakened, but they're paralyzed for 1d6 minute, and any attack or hostile action other than a Gray's ability to probe for information ends this paralysis. If the paralysis is not interrupted and just ends, the victim falls back to sleep and has no memory of the event, as if the memory was taken out of the brain by the spell Modify Memory. The creature can attempt a DC 15 will save against the memory erasure. If it succeeds, it remembers the paralysis and probing with imperfect clarity. So it's kind of like they'll kind of get bits and pieces of it. So you have to tell your opponent, like, hey, so you don't remember all this. You sort of remember something coming over you. You couldn't move, and then that it felt like you felt flashes of memory, and if you succeeded, it's like, oh, it was hazy, but you felt like it was trying to take your memories, but it didn't. But you just, I don't know, you kind of mess up the memory of it going down.
Much like Fire in the Sky. You never saw that movie. It was great.
Yeah. So that does it for the real meat and potatoes of the Gray. They're more of like a sneak kind of threat. They're not like I don't know, like that Hellbot that we were looking at,
or just like a guy with a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure, they can sneak around all they want, but a guy with a gun, that's a guy with a gun.
Yeah. So and all their stat things, it does speak to more of the sci-fi origin, where it's a lot like spooky, like ooh, sneaky subterfuge stuff.
So yeah, the Greys, they are mysterious outsiders from another dimension. So a few ways that you can use them in a quest or mission, I guess, is this the future, is they hunt down those who are really found gateways to interdimensional travel, like making drift engines really good. So like, say for example, if your story wraps around getting a drift travel ship, or there is news from Absalom Station that somebody high ranking in Abadar Corp found some stuff on how to get make drift drives really good, stay in there for a long time, use them defensively, offensively, and so on. The Greys are like, well, we can't let that happen. So they just, all of a sudden, the engineers that are working on this, including the main scientists, they've gone missing for a few days. And they've also come back with their memories wiped.
Yeah, so now they don't know all the stuff about the project, so...
Yeah, or just even if you don't want them to go missing, their memories are just wiped. So there's this massive, how does nobody remember this thing that we worked on? There were things in the news about it, because I don't really see them as master hackers. I know they can be, but people probably remember seeing something about the news, and then people chalk it up to the Mandela effect or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Another way is that they are linked to the disappearances of powerful people, drift travelers who spend a lot of their time ferrying people through the drift, and so one day old honest Eddie is just gone, just out of nowhere, and they do things like they abduct drift travelers and also fat guys. Oh god. Oh god! Oh no! Oh god! Yes, but the Greys, they do seem like they're a very lawfully good race. I think they're just maybe misunderstood in some way. But they're really good to use if you want to run a solid mystery. They're such a complex group that it's almost like you want to run something that's really compelling, but at the same time you don't want to front load everybody with, here's the thing. The Grey are such a mysterious group that they could really pull that off. Also, random drift encounters. Since they are a really intelligent group, they obviously want to look at all aspects of the drift travel. And so with that, they'll want to do things like investigate how lowly humans or really Blunt-esque travel the drift, just to sort of see and just sort of guide people into the right direction. Some really good movies that they have starred in really well, I think. We're Fire in the Sky, something that I really like as one of my personal favorites, when they just want to know more about this logging community. And definitely Roswell. They were portrayed as villains in Roswell, which I don't get, but I liked it. I think that there was some really good things that just to show their sheer intellect about that. You mentioned the X-Files for a few times.
Yeah.
If you want to watch some comedies about it, definitely some Area 51 encounters, things like that.
Paul.
Or
the best portrayal of a Grey, the movie Paul.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Sounds like propaganda to me. Or just like any really old-timey sci-fi to just sort of show their more humorous side. Is there any good thing that you want to say about the Grey? Because I like them.
I mean, like, they're kind of like a cool villain, like, you know, like a real...
I see them as a hero. They just want to learn.
Yeah, but why are they always touching everyone's buttholes?
But yeah, so I see them as heroes. They just want to learn.
Yeah, but again, I really like, you know, one thing I like about how they're in here is that, you know, even in like space times are like a spooky, mysterious thing, but also it's like, it says like, you know, back in the day, like it used to be like this happened so infrequently, there are conspiracy theories, but now it's become such a problem that, you know, everyone knows about the you know, the Gray menace, and you need to beware, you know, wear a belt so they can't touch your bathing suit area. Things.
Let's talk about a little bit more about some of the stuff that the Greys can get. Their special abilities. So if you are playing as an NPC character and you want to play something cool like a Grey, one thing I thought was pretty cool is unlocking a lot of the Grey's abilities and stuff that you would get as part of your character arc. Say you start off as a Grey, so one way to get a Grey into the group, I think would be really cool, is say talk with your DM on the side about this for sure before, like at character creation. Say, hey, you know, I want to play as a Grey. I think they're awesome. I like all their technology, but maybe I don't want my group to know I'm a Grey because they might be a little bit, you know, scared of that for whatever reason. So I'm going to be disguised as a Yasaki or a space goblin or anything like that. Just talk to your DM about character creation, just to sort of do that. And then say you get you would get just starting off as the racial traits. You do have an ability adjustments of +4 to your intelligence and -2 to your strength. Where if you're that smart, you probably don't need to be lifting everything so often. You have sick mind powers and a hit points of +2. You know, you do have the Grey and small humanoid subtypes there for that, and you get dark vision as a Grey, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to get things like, you know, sort of ocular implants or anything like that. They have it loaded in, and also Grey magic.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So they get the following spell-like abilities. They get Mind Thrust as first level, and at wills they get a Daze and Telepathic Message, and the caster level for these is equal to your actual character level. Therefore, so they, you know, stack with you. They get phase, and so basically an amount of time equal to your Constitution modifier per day. You can have you can just phase in and out of reality very briefly and get a 20% miss chance on attacks against you.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a reaction, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a reaction. They just think on the fly. And so another cool thing that I think you can have just to sort of, you know, make this a little bit more potent would be, say they complete a story arc of them, or say if they do send messages back to high command. One thing that would be cool for that was, say the first time you send some interesting info back, or you capture a silly drift traveler who is not minding their own business, you can have them have it so that, you know, they have the area of effect reduction as it does in NPC stat block. Another thing that you can do is you say you get another piece of information, or you're able to deter people from, you know, traveling from the drift for so long, is you're able to pass through walls. And then third would be you always have the benefit of phase, like it does in the NPC stat block.
Maybe something like, you know, if you give even like more insidious, you know, information that you've stolen from, like, just like a guy you kidnapped, whatever they want, go and you know, give it back to the, you know, the weird cabal high command. That's what people in their sleep.
I don't know why you're so against the Greys so much. They seem like a nice group. They really just want to learn more, but without getting in the way of intergalactic struggles, like somebody like the Vesk or the Cathasis would. They really just want to stay out of people's way, but learn everybody's deal.
And they're like space cosby.
You're being weird.
They got weird eyes.
You're being weird about this. I don't know why, but how would you, since you're really about playing the victim and having these guys be the enemy, how would you put the Greys in your game?
Well, one thing I would do is, you know, sort of have like a mystery thing where there's a couple things you could do where maybe it's something where, like you were saying before, where, you know, it's sort of like a random quest line that gets started where maybe they're going through the drift being rascals, and then, you know, something fails, and then they get boarded by Grays or something, and they fight them off, but the Grays are like, ooh, we'll be back or something, and then they're always sort of dogged by the Grays no matter where they go. They're always sort of getting messed with. Or another thing is,
seems like the Grays just wanted to help some stranded travelers, and they got their suspicions brought the worst on them. But
I don't know why you're being such an apologist about Grays. But another thing is, so it could be something where something is happening. The crew just sort of they all realize at the same time that, hey, we're not where we're supposed to be. Like they're your space Winnebago or whatever, and it's like we're supposed to be in Washington and Oregon, but we're in Washington D.C. How do we get all the way out here? What's how do we get so lost? And then everyone has memory stuff, and they're like, what happened to all the logs? And maybe the mechanic is doing something where he's looking at the security footage and he finds video of himself deleting information from the logs, and also there's a passenger on board that no one remembers picking up, and it's the whole thing where. And hopefully your players haven't seen this video, but maybe it's something where the passenger all along was a Gray, and he was experimenting them and torturing them, and doing insidious stuff with them, and the whole thing ends up with wait a minute, you've been bamboozling us the whole time, and then you just sort of beat them up because they're like a big old brain nerd, and you just you have your big vest who's yeah, well, think this, and just welcome to Earth.
One thing about the Grays that I think is really cool, say if they are somehow caught while saying your thing, it would be really interesting to add a really cool quest of oh no, we've caught you, but they can inherently travel into another dimension. So as soon as you figure these guys out, they sort of bug out into another dimension, sort of thing. Where how are you going to catch something that is something that powerful where you can't attack them unless they feel like it. You can punch them all day, but they have that really high intellect. Dimensional drift. Is there anything else that you can think about the Grays? I can say nice things about them all day, but is there anything else you can think about to say about the Grays?
Yeah, they're a really good if you want to have more of a creepy sort of villain vibe, maybe not just we're space raiders, or ooh, it's a big old space tiger that's gonna mess you up because it's a space tiger with it's a tiger with a weird fish fin on its face or something. It's a really sort of more of a mysterious, creepy thing, that game we're having today where one of our players was caught being a horror style movie murderer.
Actually, I don't remember that.
You're the one who found out that he was the murderer.
My head's been foggy today, dude.
Yeah, it's been really weird.
Well, anyway, if you do want to have a very enigmatic person added to your game with a lot of layers and mysteries, that would be great to add a Gray. Again, thanks for watching 20-Sided Night, and have a good day.